Have you ever recorded a video and forgot to hide some identifying information? Hey source coders, I'm jumping in with a quick tip showing you how to use YouTube's blur feature to hide personal information. In the terminal view of Visual Studio Code, what often pops up is your username, and that's something you may not want to display. Or you may have created a video with other personal information showing. Let's say it's the green text or the word coder. Let's say these are personal details that you want to hide. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to hide that information using the blur feature. And what's great is that this feature is offered in YouTube. So here we are in YouTube in the video details section. In order to access the blur feature, we need to click on the editor menu. We're in the video editor and we need the blur feature. Let's look at the text we want to blur. So we want to blur the word coder. Click blur, custom blur, and the blue box shows up as the current blur. The rectangular blur shape is selected by default. Then we want the fixed blur position. Now we'll determine where we want the blur to start and finish. The way we do that is to look at the timeline. And we need to get comfortable working with the timeline in order to do this. So where should we start? Well, we want to scrub the timeline to find a place where private text or information starts showing up. So let's say it's the word coder, and it looks like that word starts at the 4:29 marker. Now we'll copy that time and we'll paste it as the start of our blur. And we'll do the same thing with the end time. So let's scrub the timeline. We need to find out where our text stops showing up, and it stops displaying at the 32:04 time marker. So we copy that time and paste it as the end for the blur. Now we position our blue box to cover the word coder, and we can use a crossbar to move the blur box, and we can also adjust it horizontally. And we can adjust it vertically. Once the blur covers the text, position it. And when we scrub the timeline, we see that the text still peeks out at the bottom. All we need to do here is reposition the blur or extend it. Now we need another blur, and this time it's for the green text. Keep in mind that you need to create a new blur for each item you want to hide. So click the plus sign, then custom blur. Rectangular blur is selected, and then there's the blue box. Click Fix Blur Position as the behavior. And now we need to figure out the start and end position for our second blur. Remember to start a new blur, otherwise the previous blur will still be selected. Now let's move down to the timeline. The blue bar in the timeline corresponds with the new blur box. The previous blur box is white and the bar is gray. Now we want to hide the green text, so we need to know where it starts, and for that, we'll need to scrub the timeline. And it looks like it starts at the 15:25 time marker. So we'll copy that time and paste it as the start for the blur. And we'll do the same thing with the end time. We'll scrub our timeline because we need to know where the text stops showing up. And it stops being displayed at the 43:25 time marker. And now we position the blur over the text. We move the box into position and we'll adjust it horizontally and vertically. And when we scrub our timeline, if we see text peeking out, we can adjust it or extend the blur. One thing I've noticed is that there's a slight delay in when the blur shows up, and I'll try to demonstrate that here. When we play the video, you'll notice that the text displays during the time that it should be blurred. So what I do to fix that is I just start the blur a minute or two earlier. So I'll adjust the blur to start at the 4:28 time marker rather than the 4:29 time marker. The same thing happens with the second blur. The green text is displaying when it should be blurred. Let me show you that again. So I'm going to adjust this 2 seconds earlier. And problem solved. You can probably think of many use cases for the blur feature, but I hope this tutorial showed you how to use it. Now the last thing you need to do is click Save. And your video will be processed. If you found value in this video, click the subscribe button to stay connected to the Hub. Also, like this video. And as always, thank you for watching.